Extroverted, intuiting, feeling, perceiving. Anybody else? ENFPs? ENFPs? Woot, woot. Champions, right? Right? Yes! Okay. Woo! All right. So I'm just going to tell a quick story for you guys. And by the way, notice these alumni speakers were a little more professionally dressed than the rest of you. Consider it a harbinger of your far more professional future, okay? This slack, I mean, it's going to change, okay? Get ready. All right, here we go. So it was a balmy summer night as my wife and I were driving up the hill to our newlywed condo, and she was crying. You see, we had just come from a friend's house, and there was 5 or 6 different married couples there, and the time we had spent there, it really represented kind of the fruit of about a year's worth of labor. So why was she crying? Well, we were filled with a grief. We were filled with a frustration, leaving this night of fellowship. You see, my wife Dietra and I met in 8th grade, and we met amidst this incredible Christian community in Nashville, Christ-centered, authentic, all the things we desire to see. It's the place where we really cut our teeth on living interdependently. It's the place we, a few years later, actually fell in love. It's also the place where we learned that with a community with Christ at the center of it, deep, healthy relationships can form. People become more of who they really are, who they're intended to be. And in those places, it's almost as if your transformation seems to speed up. It's like light speed, renewal of your mind, redemption kind of stuff. And as a married couple, that's all we wanted. I mean, I didn't think that was too much to ask for. Who's going to do it next for us? So we inevitably started looking. We'd been married about a year and a half, and we were accustomed to this kind of community in our early relationship, in college with campus ministries, and even the fellows program, which she didn't do, but I did afterwards. We knew the dating policy, so that was out, that she couldn't do it. So I took notes. But we had been poured into, and we had experienced community in these various places, and so we needed to find it the next place. We needed to find the next group, the next thing, the next program, the next context where we would find this kind of community. So in all the contexts we were a part of, we eventually found a group of married couples who seemed to want community as badly as we did. They were well established. They'd been around a while. They were kind of in the limelight. They were kind of in the middle of the community, so kind of a daunting task to try to, wedge into this place where it looks like some really cool stuff is going on. And some of you may have experienced this. It's not like you can just walk up and knock on the door and just say, hey, we're your new best friends. Consider us part of this community. It takes time. It takes persistence. It takes presence. It takes being forgotten to be included a number of times. It takes some crying. It takes that kind of perseverance. But inevitably, after some perseverance, we made it. We made it in. We were being invited to the dinners. We were being invited to the Saturday days at the park, even a couple weekend getaways. And it was good, but something was lacking. Something was so off that it was inexplicably bringing my wife to tears. So that takes us back to the car. We're driving up the hill. We pull into our parking spot, and we get into one of those conversations where you don't leave the parking spot for a couple hours. Because we're going to get to the bottom of this. I mean, we're going to get to the bottom. She's crying again. I'm going to fix it. I know I'm going to fix it. But, this is a tough one. This one's eluded me. So why the frustration? I mean, we knew the ideal community, right? We knew the structure. We knew the principles. We knew with Christ at the center how it could be. But that was part of the frustration. But there was something else as well. All these communities we'd been a part of before really were formed for us. Many aspects of it. We were there to bring color and life and actually put some warm bodies in it, but the policies, the culture, the infrastructure was already created, and we were there to sort of make it our own. And here we were out in the wild blue yonder, to quote our worship leader. And it was different. So though those were frustrating, there was something deeper and far more foundational to why we were frustrated, because these were great people, and they really were having good community, but something was really, really wrong. And it was in that moment, deep into this conversation, we're probably 90 minutes in at this point, that this cinematic sequence plays out in my mind. And it was like this community that we were hunting down. It was like this house off in the distance with the lights on, and we're way out in the dark. And you point at it from far away, and you move closer and closer and closer, and you wedge past people. Then you're looking in the windows, and the fire's warm, and there's food on the table, and they're eating it, and you're just sensing that longing to be a part of that rich exchange that's happening inside. So you find a cracked window, you wedge it open, you get inside, and after some perseverance, as I was saying, you're accepted, and you're a part of it. And you're enjoying it, and it's everything you hoped it would be, but then something is nagging at you. Something's not there. But the cinematic sequence continued. I turned around, actually. We were all around the table, food on the table, and this is, imagination in my head. I turn around, and I look outside into the darkness, and I see rows and rows and rows of people who had the same longing on their face. They had the same expectations, hopes, desires that they had gone years without experiencing what it could be. Some of them were trying to get in. Some of them had resigned completely to that kind of community. And my heart broke. And I realized that not only was something not right about me partaking from this community, but I had contributed to the lack of community for so many others. You see, my wife and I, we had actually been equipped to form community, not just join it. We were carriers of a Christ-centered culture that was longing to be expressed and established in the communities that we could create, in our church, in our workplace. We weren't supposed to join community, we were supposed to make it. We weren't supposed to find it, we were supposed to create it. You're all going to graduate in a couple weeks from this Fellows community experience. And for most of you, it will be the last community that was created for you. It will be the last set of policies and structures that were decided upon how this was going to operate and behave. And you just got to show up and add color and add life to it. So what are you going to do? For many of you, you've realized this. Maybe a couple months ago, maybe just now, you've realized that this thing is quickly falling between your fingers and what's soon to be as a group of memories. So I'm here to tell you, don't try to find it. You are carriers of a culture that is aching to be established, and it will ache in you because you won't see it where you go. But you will see, if you put on a different set of lenses, you will see opportunities to create it and express it. So what is that culture? What culture are you carrying? Well, to answer that, I'll tell one more story. It was 2010. I was in this area in what went down in history as the snowpocalypse of Washington, D.C. Some of you were around for that. And I was on this sleepy little street in Arlington, and we were all stuck. So with no place to go, everyone was congregating in this one particular home. I didn't know whose home it was, but my friends were going in, so I walked in. A few minutes in, I was in a conversation with the host. Her name was Connie. And just a few minutes into this conversation, it comes out that I was a Knoxville fellow. I'd graduated the year before, and she said, "Oh, you have to meet my husband." I said, "Okay, great. Why?" She said, he was involved in starting up the Fellows program." I was like, "Oh, great. Which one?" And she was like, "The first one, I think." I was like, "Well, I'd love to meet this guy." Some of you know Art Lindsley, and she said, "He's in the study. Let me go get him." And Art comes out. And he, "Nice to meet you, young man." He had no idea there was a Knoxville Fellows program. It was only a couple years old. I get to tell him about it. He says, "It's really fortuitous that I've gotten to meet you tonight. I've been thinking about the Fellows program. I've been thinking about the values and the principles that it was founded on, and really what my desire and what our desire was to see in a fellow by the end of their experience. And this is what I'm going to tell you the culture that you carry is." He said it in a series of phrases, and he wrote it down, and he signed it, and he Xeroxed it, because he wanted a copy of it, because he liked it, and he gave me the copy. And he said, these are the phrases: kingdom-centered, creation-enjoying, orthodoxy-rooted, creativity-generating, scripture-focused, spiritually disciplined, apologetically trained, theologically grounded, truth-embracing, and my favorite, redemption extending. You carry a redemptive culture. So form community wherever you go. Open your homes. plan the Saturdays at the park, initiate the weekend getaways. If you do, not only will that profoundly affect your ability to sustain a life of holistic faithfulness, but so many others. Thank you.